Have you ever been curious about the evolution of animals and the processes behind it? Have you ever wondered why animals evolve in a certain way? If so, then maybe you'd consider evolutionary biology or paleontology as a career path. Evolutionary biologists and paleontologists have both shaped the way that we look at evolution. Stephen Jay Gould was an important scientist to both of these fields. Stephen Jay Gould was a well-known American paleontologist and an evolutionary biologist. Gould studied at Antioch College but eventually went to Columbia University to get his PhD in paleontology. Gould later in his career did research at Harvard University and went to become a professor there. Gould's main research was on the theory of punctuated equilibrium as an explanation for evolution. He mainly developed the theory by studying West Indian land snails and their fossil records. He was able to use these fossil records in order to suggest that species would spend long periods of time without an evolutionary change, and then change rapidly over a short period of time. It suggested that the changes are typically triggered when the population gets isolated from the rest, possibly due to the change in landscape or some other environmental factor. Due to the environment change to the population would need to adapt, and given the fact that the population has a small gene pool, any evolution would take root more easily.
If the environmental barrier that caused the isolated population is removed, the evolved population would have an advantage over the unevolved. This can cause the evolved population to become dominant and could even cause the unevolved population to die out. This theory may seem to contradict the theory that gradual evolution exists, but it does not disprove it. The two ways of evolution can easily coexist and are backed up through fossil records. As evidence, Gould uses fossils and embedded layers of sedimentary rock that remain consistent over many layers before there are sudden changes in characteristics. In our class, we have studied how fossils are used in order to determine the ages of rocks and other fossils. The ability to apply ideas such as relative dating and the law of superposition to portions of the fossil record enabled him to form his conclusions about evolution. Using those skills, it would be useful in order to develop a better understanding about how quickly the evolutions developed. Gould's research has shown us that changes in the environment or events in nature can cause an acceleration of evolution. It can help in explaining why certain species have not evolved much over the years, why there are no transitional fossils between iterations of certain species. Gould's contribution to the theory of evolution on punctuated equilibrium is still useful today and is still a debated topic due to its contradictions with the slow evolution of animals. Gould made various contributions to both paleontology and evolutionary biology by publishing many works that became famous across the scientific community. As an evolutionary biologist, you are studying the history of the organism's evolutions in order to understand where they came from. Often you can find yourself working in a lab to study certain differences, but could also be working out in nature observing the animal's behavior. A bachelor's degree is usually needed for any entry-level job. A master's degree or PhD might be needed for higher up jobs such as being a professor. A person who wants to become an evolutionary biologist must have critical thinking and complex problem-solving skills. As with a lot of geology-related jobs, a certain level of curiosity is needed, as this will often lead to more discoveries. In order to be successful in the field, you must have good communications skills and writing skills in order to share your findings.
Gould also made many contributions to paleontology, which is what he earned his PhD in, and spent a lot of time researching and publishing books. Paleontologists study fossils and research them in order to find out the time period the remains had come from and be able to draw any data about how the organism lived. Similar to evolutionary biology, you need a bachelor's degree in order to get an entry-level job. Often a master's degree is needed, or even a PhD, in order to land the higher-up jobs, such as a lead researcher. A person with a master's is typically hired after graduation and works their way up through various research positions. Typically, a paleontologist is working in the field the majority of the time. The job often requires travel and can require the researcher to carry around lab equipment in order to make on-the-spot research. A person who wants to go into this field needs to be detail-oriented and to be okay with the physical and travel demands of this job. Although there is a lot of work needed in order to rise to a high position in the field, the results can be very rewarding. The researchers like Gould can make us change our opinion on how organisms have evolved. For explaining the previously poorly understood instances of rapid change in the fossil record, Gould will forever be seen as one of the great scientists of his time.